When most people think of albinism, they imagine someone with white hair, pink eyes, and extremely light skin. While this can sometimes be the case, people with albinism don't always look like this. Albinism is a hereditary genetic condition that reduces production of melanin in the skin, hair, or eyes. Melanin is a pigment that gives the body color and protects it from ultraviolet radiation. Let's first debunk a few myths. People with albinism can have a wide variety of skin, hair, and eye colors. They do not, however, have pink or red eyes. They might appear this way because light reflects off blood vessels in the back of their eyes. Most people with albinism have blue eyes. This can vary, however, as we'll soon see. There are two kinds of albinism, oculocutaneous and ocular. Let's begin with oculocutaneous albinism. This form of albinism affects melanin production in the hair, eyes, and skin. Now, melanin production isn't easy. It requires the hard work and cooperation of a whole group of genes. These genes all work together to build up melanin from an amino acid called tyrosine. This all takes place inside a little factory or organelle called a melanosome. Some of these genes form an assembly line to create melanin. Each has a job to do and it has to be done. This brings us to the first kind of oculocutaneous albinism, OCA1. OCA1 denotes a defect in the enzyme tyrosinase. The job of this enzyme is to convert tyrosine into pigment. OCA1 has two subdivisions. OCA1A means that the enzyme is totally broken. The assembly line can't function and no melanin can be made. This results in white skin and hair and is usually what you think about when you hear albinism. OCA1B means the enzyme is only kind of working. It's like an assembly line machine that's not really functioning correctly, but sorta gets the job done. This means that a little bit of melanin is made. The skin is usually a bit pigmented, and the hair is usually a blonde color. OCA2 is a bit different. This form of albinism deals with genes that affect the environment in which the melanin is made, the melanosome. Think of it like the factory's air conditioning. The process can still happen, but it won't be as efficient. Without air conditioning, the machines might overheat and not work as well. OCA2 actually affects a gene that causes problems with acidity in the melanosome. This results in minimal pigment. Hair color can range from light blonde to brown. This is the most common type of albinism. OCA3 is a rare kind of albinism, a defect of a protein related to tyrosinase called TYRP1. Individuals with OCA3 albinism can often have a lot of pigment. OCA4 deals with a defect of SLC45A2 protein, which helps tyrosinase function. OCA4 individuals often look similar to OCA2 individuals. Finally, OCA5 through 7 deals with mutations of additional causative genes. They were only described recently, so not much is known about them. Oculocutaneous albinism is genetic, but it's recessive. That means that both parents must carry whatever gene is responsible for the condition. Even then, there is only a 1 in 4 chance the child will have albinism. These genes are located on autosomal chromosomes. These chromosomes are all chromosomes aside from your sex chromosomes, X and Y. On to the next kind of albinism, ocular albinism. This form only affects melanin production in the eyes. What's interesting about this kind is that the genes that are responsible for it are located only on the X chromosome. Females have 2 X chromosomes and males only have 1, along with a Y chromosome. This means that in order to have ocular albinism, a female must inherit 2 copies of the gene from both the mother and father, while the male only has to inherit 1 copy from the mother. For this reason, males are more likely to have ocular albinism. Albinism is also related to certain medical problems, especially visual impairments. This is because melanin is involved in optic nerve development. Perhaps most expectedly, albinism may lead to photophobia, a sensitivity to bright lights. Many people with albinism may have nystagmus, which is a horizontal back and forth movement of the eyes. They could also have strabismus, which is a type of muscle imbalance. This usually manifests itself in crossed eyes or a lazy eye. Sometimes their retinas do not form correctly, a condition called foveal hypoplasia, or nerve signals from the retina don't follow the typical routes through the brain. People with albinism might have an astigmatism, which is when there is an abnormal curvature of the eye. And of course they might suffer from more familiar visual impairments, such as being farsighted or nearsighted. People with albinism are particularly susceptible to sunburns and skin cancer. All in all though, individuals with this condition can go on to live long, happy, and healthy lives. However, it's not a complete walk in the park for everyone. In certain cultures and communities, albinism is treated with a social stigma. People with this condition are often isolated. Especially in communities of color, the race or paternity of a child may be questioned. Sometimes this discrimination can lead to violence. Witch doctors have been known to hunt and kill people with albinism for their body parts to be used in potions for good luck and wealth. Recently, there have been 129 killings and 181 attacks on people with albinism. All of these occurred in only 23 African countries. However, African people with albinism also suffer from a silent killer: skin cancer. A lack of melanin means less protection from the sun. 90% of people in Africa with the condition die before age 40. These health risks can be avoided by wearing sunscreen and opaque clothing. However, in countries like Tanzania, 80% of the population makes less than $1.50 a day. Sunscreen can cost between $10 and $15. It's also hard to come by. Africa has a mostly dark-skinned population. These people don't burn as easily, so there's less need for sunscreen. Most sunscreens in Africa are imported or donated. Since albinism is much more common in Africa than in other parts of the world, this is a problem. On top of that, many of these people don't know the importance of protecting their skin. Some parents would leave their children with albinism out in the sun to darken up, hoping they'd blend in with their peers. Little did they know they were increasing their child's risk of skin cancer. In the video description, I'll link some programs and charities dedicated to supporting those with albinism, as well as raising awareness of the condition's dangers and how to prevent them. Thanks for watching!